Syria is demanding action from the United Nations Security Council. Damascus accuses the US-led coalition of killing 16 civilians and injuring dozens in a bombing raid over the border with Iraq. Our video agency Ruppli filmed the aftermath of what appears to have been a combination of airstrikes and shelling. Our correspondent Murad Gazdiev takes a good look.
Syria, again, is accusing the United States of war crimes.
On 11 February 2019, the US-led coalition committed a new crime against innocent Syrian civilians. Its warplane targeted a civilian camp in the village of al-Baghouz in the countryside of the governorate of Deir ez-Zor. 16 civilians, including 7 children, were killed, and 70 civilians, most of them women and children, were injured. Syria again calls on the UN Security Council to stand up against these crimes and attacks and to shoulder its responsibilities in the maintenance of international peace and security.
Here's what happened. Near Deir ez-Zor, East Syria, is a small village, al-Baghouz, which happens to be one of the last Islamic State enclaves in Syria. And it is in the firing line. The US-led coalition, its troops and allies on the ground are pressing it from all sides. And the media's there too, watching this ISIS village burn.
Final push to defeat ISIS.
The village is their last remaining stronghold in northeastern Syria.
Days away from victory, days before they saw the end of the caliphate.
The problem, and a serious one at that, is that aside from the 500-600 ISIS fighters, there are hundreds upon hundreds of civilians, innocents, whom the terror group is holding hostage, using as human shields.
The coalition killed a lot of families. They killed a lot of families, a lot of children.
This time, the US-led coalition hit a mosque, and the coalition has a rule never to hit mosques. They're protected, except when it stops being a mosque, because the Pentagon says so.
This mosque lost its protected status when ISIS deliberately chose to use it as a command and control center.
Not the first time they hit a mosque, which stopped being a mosque packed with people. The incident near Aleppo springs to mind. Yes, the coalition takes all reports of civilian casualties seriously, investigates for months or years, writes an apology note when everyone's forgotten and moved on. Almost always the terrorists' fault. Yes, the US is fighting terrorists in Syria, but it was never invited to. It invited itself then to be able to say, "Good job, boys, we beat ISIS."
It should be formally announced sometime, probably next week, that we will have 100% of the caliphate. But I want to wait for the official word. I don't want to say it too early.
We have won against ISIS. We've beaten them, and we've beaten them badly. Now we've won.
You could, in that vacuum, see a resurgence of ISIS, see a resurgence of terror groups like Al-Qaeda.
We'll come back if we have to.
Well, a Middle East expert, Amar Wakaf, believes that the US has changed its tactics to justify its current methods.
What we know for sure that the Americans showed disregard for human life and for infrastructure. What's happening this time around is that previously they would say, we would launch an investigation whenever a large toll of civilians' lives were lost. Nowadays, they seem to have pre-set justifications. So, for example, yesterday they bombed a mosque in the same village, Baghouz, and they've issued a statement that we've bombed a former mosque which lost its status because it was turned by Daesh into a command and control center. So now they've come prepared for whatever criticism they might face. But we don't think that the Security Council will take any step towards that. The United States is not alone in this sort of illegal presence in Syria.